welcome to Coding After Work. We're back.
We're back. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been out and about and busy as ants? I don't know. Bees? Bees. I think it's bees.
Stepped on a bee?
No. But we are back.
Yeah.
And we're doing
Finally.
some stuff today as well.
We are.
Finally.
Let's,
you have stuff to show as well, right?
I do. Let's pop over to our HDMI. The first thing is that we finally, I would say, got a podcast out.
Yes.
We got one waiting for us as well with Steve Sanderson.
Yes.
We just need to clear that sound up a little bit. But we did a podcast with Maria Nagaga, which was...
so much fun.
It was so much fun. It was so interesting. I didn't know a lot about Maria, and I knew that she was awesome.
She's a clever woman. And so humble.
Yeah.
Because she's behind a lot of stuff we had no idea about. So yeah, cliffhanger.
It has something to do with .NET Interactive. But you should definitely check that out. It was so much fun and amazing.
I learned
woman.
a great deal.
Yeah.
So that's always something. I like to learn stuff. But the people who actually make this possible, both the stream, look what you did there, both the stream and the podcast, we do have some sponsors.
So Progress Telerik has amazing Blazor UI controls with over 95 components right now.
Yes.
95.
We are so close to 100.
Yeah. And
we need to have a party with them or something.
So when I opened the webpage and looked, I wanted to bring this one up, I found this one. So they have .NET MAUI controls now as well.
Ah.
I mean, they took .NET MAUI out of beta or whatever it was, so they have .NET MAUI controls as well. Haven't tried them, but
that's great.
If anything, if
we're
history,
doing anything in
and if looking at the other controls that Telerik are developing, I'm sure that these are amazing as well.
Yeah.
But we got another sponsor as well.
We do. We have a insurance company called If, and they are growing their developer community. Last time we checked, they were over 900 people and growing like crazy. And they want to help, well, basically humanity avoid injuries and stuff like that by crunching numbers and doing all that magic. Yep. So thank you to our sponsors. And I have linked them. Oh, actually, they are looking for people basically all the time. So that's always something.
All right. So what have we been up to? We went to London.
We did.
NDC London.
Yeah. We had a few talks to give.
Yeah. And we went to Back to the Future, the musical.
Yes. That is the thing. Back to the Future musical.
I loved it. And we are actually bringing my sister over to London to see that.
Again. Well, she didn't see it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to bring her over to London and see the musical again, because she might be a bigger Back to the Future fan than I am.
Which is, I don't know how. That's like Jimmy's a 10 or 11 out of 10. But yes, she...
I'm so cutting that part. You should definitely clip that part.
We also went to DevSum.
Yeah. And brought a lot of gadgets.
Oh, there was so many gadgets. So many gadgets. And you know, in Sweden, in summertime, that usually means rain. Well, at least a lot of rain. And it was a rainy day that day. So we had to cover up all the gadgets, and there was a lot of gadgets. Deadpool was there.
Yep.
Amongst other things.
I'm probably going to do that talk on stream as well. I talked about how to connect Blazor to gadgets, basically.
Yep.
But that is not the only thing we've been doing.
No, we have working hard back behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So we have a .NET conference that we're a lot of speakers or community members that works on this, and we haven't been able to do anything since 2019 because the things we don't want to mention.
The unmentionable.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But we are finally branching out, which we actually planned for 2019. But again, stuff happened during that year, so we had to shelf that.
Yep.
So we are actually going to do a one-day conference to try out Gothenburg, which is the second largest city here in Sweden.
We got some speakers, so it's just going to be 1 day. It's going to be 2 tracks.
I think this is the smallest one we've did so far. I think the first one had 3 tracks.
Yes, they did.
But I think the quality will be a little bit better at this compared to our absolute first one.
Hopefully. So we've never been to, well, we've been to Gothenburg, but we haven't done a conference there before. So this is going to be, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And that is in September, right?
Let's see, I think it's 19th. Yeah,
19th.
September 19th. And we're also going to NDC Oslo.
In September. This is an eventful fall or autumn or whatever you want to call it.
And kind of directly after that, I believe we're going to Techorama.
Yeah, that's kind of like the week after.
October.
Yeah, maybe a week or two after. So that's and also I have 2 classes in between there to teach, so it's going to be busy.
Then we have OrDev in November, early November, and we're just gonna be there for 1 day because
then
we're going to Tech Bash. So this is kind of why we wanted to build what we're doing here on stream, a site that it hopefully will help us get all of this organized. As you can see, it's a lot of things.
And what happened is that we kind of overbooked a little between OrDev and Tech Bash, and also one of my classes actually. So we had 3 things on the same day, which is not that good. So we don't want to steal the traffic from the different conference or call for papers or whatever providers we have. We want just to make the data nice and then send them over there. So we're not out for stealing stuff.
Definitely
we just want to send them their way, but we wanted to sort it because it is a mess. Even if you're just looking for a conference, you want to know if it's a .NET conference, where it is, how much it costs. There's a lot of things going into there. Hey, we want to know what weather it is.
And if you're not a speaker, how this usually works is that a conference goes out and with a call for papers, speakers, or presenters. It's same thing, different names. And what happened to us was that we sent out that we wanted to speak on at different conferences.
Actually, we sent out to one of them, and one of them contacted us, and we didn't check the dates because we're stupid.
Yeah, but we never know if we're gonna get the conference or not.
That's true.
But usually you have like a lot of conferences going submitted at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we actually had one more that we had to.
We opted out before they closed their call for papers because. That was a little bit too much, having 4 things on the same day. Even we drew the line there.
And I went to a talk at DevSum, and I got a little bit inspired to work more on my ZX Spectrum emulator.
Yeah, it comes and goes in waves.
It does. And that's basically what happened. I mean, I've been working on the emulator for many years, and it comes and goes.
Which I'm very happy about because the theme music and the game music is,
You like it that much, huh?
let's call it interesting to listen to for 4 hours straight.
What I actually managed to fix was a bug in the audio. So now we have the ZX Spectrum emulator, and if we kick this off, and we don't have any sound out to the stream from this computer, but hopefully you will be able to hear it.
And now you will understand why I do not enjoy when Jimmy had to debug the sound.
So I'm super happy about getting that to work, and this is actually one of the things I'm going to talk about at Code Bash and at Svetug. We're going to talk about how I built
Tech
this.
Bash.
What did I say?
Code Bash. I think it's Tech Bash.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. All right.
And you, just to, I mean, you wrote every single, what do you call it, computation in this. This
yeah,
was...
So basically, I actually have the book here.
Hey, look at that.
Programming the Z80, page 1. Checking out what kind of... So let's see if I can find a good representation. So here it says bit B, I, Y plus D. That's the assembly instruction. So what is actually happening? Well, we are sending some bytes back and forward, and we actually have a diagram. I don't know if you can see that.
No.
But we got a little bit of a diagram here as well. Explaining basically what kind of things that particular instruction affects. So it's super fun.
Well, for someone who likes assembly. Picture book, yes, it's a picture book.
So did you know that I took assembler in school? I learned assembler with the Z80 chip.
Oh, I did not know that.
And I could not, for the life of me, figure this one out. I was so bad at the test. I don't think I ever got it to run.
How have you made this?
But it's kind of like a lot of things when it comes to the emulator and the technology in general. When I step away from it and kind of letting it be.
Oh yeah, simmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just come back and just go, all right, I got it. This is the way it works.
You need to think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Let it sink in. So I took assembler. You learned it.
Okay. So
what else?
What else?
Well, we did talk about conferences and traveling, and one of the things we actually just had to check out, since we're going to Tech Bash, and we had no idea what the weather was like there, especially in November. So we had to check that out. Can we pack light? Do we need to bring 2 bags because we're going to the Netherlands and stuff like that? Or how are we going to pack? So we needed to look up the weather for all of them.
And now the same version of this would, of course, be go to the nearest weather site.
Yes.
Type in Pennsylvania in November and be done with it.
Yeah. Or even just Google it or Bing it.
That is not how we work.
No, Jimmy is one of those developers who make a project out of everything. So we now have a project to be added. Well, a feature to be added to our page.
Yeah. So I've actually cheated just a little bit with this because I wanted to test it out, and I've already built it. So
you made a site. We do have we started a couple of streams ago, I think, on a call for papers or conference or organizer page. that will take all the information from that, depending on how you view it. If you just want to see if your conference that you're planning in November, if November is a good month or not, you can check out your competition.
Right.
You can also check out if there's anything nearby in the dates, because then you can share the speakers and do some collaborations and stuff like that. Or as a speaker, if you want to find conferences to speak at, or as an attendee to find a conference to go to.
Yes.
So we have a bare minimum page right now.
Very bare.
Yes.
So what I've done is that I've actually checked in the Azure function that updates from sessionize, joined in, and conf tech. And as you can see, this is a very work in progress. I'm just running these sometimes on my machine when I feel like it. So it's not going to be updated all the time.
Spoiler alert, November is not good anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere.
Fair enough. So what I've done here is that I have an update location, and what I didn't know was that Microsoft or Azure has something called Azure Maps, which is a service that you can add to your Azure account and get reverse lookup, which is basically I'm gonna where is it lookup? I never remember which one it is.
Reverse lookup is usually when you just give them a picture and they find it other places, right? I think you can do that on Google image search.
But we're not searching with images.
No, we're not.
Okay.
Well, one of them.
They have both. So basically what we're doing here is that we're searching for the venue.
Right.
And the venue can be an address with, something center in something.
Moscone Center in that's in Seattle, right?
I don't know.
Or is it San Francisco?
That's why I didn't say that one.
Okay. In a city.
So it could be that. It could be just Stockholm.
Could be Sweden.
It could just be Sweden, exactly.
Yeah.
So
actually, it can be empty as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be online.
Look at this. In DNS, reverse lookup is IP to name. So for maps, I'd say reverse is coordinates to address.
Yes, you're probably
awesome. Thank you, Simon,
right
for
there.
clearing that up.
So geolocation, not reverse lookup.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is that we are constructing a string, sending in the address or the venue, getting back a result. We're adding latitude and longitude. With that, this we already done previously, but we used Bing, I believe, the first iteration.
The first iteration, yes.
But since we had access to this API, I wanted to do all the things at the same place. And if there is a country, I'm setting the country, and if there's a city, I'm setting the city, because it could be just an arbitrary address. I want to get as much information as possible. Yep. Okay, so if we do have a longitude and latitude, we can get the weather. And that is also inside of this Azure map functionality. So I'm sending in a longitude and latitude and getting back, we're getting a lot of values back, but the values that we're interested in minimum, maximum, and average. So we're getting the minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and some kind of average of the day. And to be fair, I mean, this is going to be in November. This is not going to be accurate numbers, but we get some kind of indication of what's going on, at least.
Yeah, if you look at historic data, you can at least know if you're bringing shorts or a raincoat.
Exactly. And what we're using here is we're using something called Timeseries in Raven. which gives us the ability to add a series of things. In this case, it's weather data, and weather data is just a class with minimum, maximum, and average.
Right.
The only thing that I don't like about this feature is that it has to be double.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that's how Timeseries works, which means that it's going to be 25.99987555999. You get the point.
Yeah.
But we add Timeseries values. When we're working with the Timeseries, we're only going to get 0, 1, 2. We're not going to have named values like.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's the time series value.
Exactly. It's time series value 1 or 0, 1, and 2.
Okay.
But we want to have them named, right?
Yes, of course. Otherwise, we don't know which is which. Well,
Exactly.
It does say minimum, maximum, but then you need to go there to look it up.
Exactly. So we're constructing this class that helps us with that, and we are simply appending to the time series here, and we're getting the time series for weather data, which is the class, for the item, which is the conference. And at this point in time, we already have a conference stored because we're running Sessionize, we're running Joined In, we're running Conf Tech, and then we're doing all the geolocation stuff. So we already have it saved, so we're just going to bring it out and store it. And we're doing it for... We're getting the dates for all the days that the conference is going on. So if it's a 3-day conference, we can get 3 dates.
So we have a question. Is that a place where you could have used a named tuple thingy?
I don't know if Raven supports that. Might work. So actually, yes and no. Because Raven doesn't support the names doesn't get populated into Raven, and we will take a look at that in just a minute to see what's happening. Might work. I am generally against tuples because I kind of want to have a class. I want to have that defined in one place, not defined somewhere and send that.
But that's a you thingy.
It's a me thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We all have thingies.
I have lots of thingies.
I do too, but mine is usually around UX.
And then we end up by simply saving the data.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pop into Raven here and go to query.
Oh, Simon is actually on your team, just understanding it where they fit in.
So let's pop into, let's see here, documents, conferences. So here we have all the conferences. And as you can see, we have a call for paper URLs. Not all conferences has an open call for paper.
Right.
So let's pick this one. So
it's a little bit interesting because the data we get are so mixed, because some of these things we want to look at is not forced. So we don't know if they actually put in a correct address or things like that. So
and we don't want, as you mentioned in the beginning, we don't want to take away visitors. So we kind of want to have as little information as possible, but enough for you to
get a nice overview.
Yeah, and hey, this looks good, but I want to go into this
to their page.
To their site,
yeah.
So I picked an iOS conference. What's up with that? So as you
Yeah,
can
look
see,
at
we have
that.
an image URL. We have so that's from
Oh, here you
Sessionize.
can see the venue as well.
Yes,
How
look at
they
that.
have put it out.
And we're getting the country, city. I don't know if we already had that information or if
Oh,
that
if that
added
came.
by the location. And we got longitude and latitude. So that's
Oh, hi. We have met from on .NET Frontend Days. Welcome. Would live subtitles be possible? Is that a thing on Twitch? We need to look into that. Is there, let's see.
I'm honestly not sure.
No, I am going to look it up. You can continue coding. I will Google for this.
Yep. The conference information is stored like that, but in Raven we have other things. We have related documents, so we can have attachments, for example. So you saw the image URL here, so it could be you could have that image stored as an attachment. Now, I don't know if you're going to use those images, probably not. And so there's no reason for us to store them at this point. They have counters. You can have related documents. You can have different revisions of the document if you want to. But we also have time series. And looking at this time series, we can press this I and see the details. And you can see in leads, in I don't remember the date. Let's see here in October, I believe. It's going to be a maximum of 10 degrees and an average of 8.6. And as you can see, it says 8.6, and if I hover, it's 8.600000381. Why couldn't it just been a decimal or something?
So regarding the caption on Twitch, oh, Simon may have found something, because the only thing I found on Twitch was you need to type it up beforehand, or we have a stenographer for Twitch events. Whew. So I will look that up. Thank you, Simon.
Sweet. So we stored the data, and I'm gonna pop back to our page here, and let's see here. I actually added a little bit of APIs somewhere. Let's see if I can find.
Was it minimal?
Of course it was. Where did I put the APIs? Actually, it wasn't. It's not an API like that. I have no idea what I'm doing. There, data. There we got it.
Oh, look at that. You can put it in the OBS, I think.
Okay.
Then we will look into that for future streams. That's awesome.
So what I've done here is that I've added get conference by weather. We can come back to that in just a minute. I added get weather time series async. So basically what it's doing here is that it's getting the time series, again using the weather data class, and I'm going to say that I want to get the weather data for that conference. Great. Now, for this to work, I talked to Dayan, which
yeah, I posted a video.
Has been on the show before, and because I didn't figure out how to do a search for the data. I tried to figure it out in the query manager, and I just couldn't get it to work. I got more data than I wanted to, and I've spent hours on this. But then I talked to him, and he said, "Yeah, sure, send me some code, and I will take a look at it." And well, that was just yesterday, so he hasn't had the time to get back to me just yet. But he mentioned that, yeah, you need to do that in an index. So, an index. So I started looking at creating indexes or indices. I think that's the correct name.
Multiple of the singular index.
Exactly. So I have a folder here called index. So we're using something called abstract multi-map time series index creation task.
Well, at least it's descriptive.
So
I'll give them
that's a Raven class. So I'm saying here, actually, this is a little bit of code that So I wanted to only index the conferences that was in the future. Never got that to work, but I still got that line there.
Yeah.
So we got add map.
Work in progress.
Yeah. So we're going to add a map to the conference document store. I want the time series weather data, or datas, because that's the default name. I use the time series. From the time series, I want to let the conference, I'm going to get the conference, load the conference here by the document ID. And I'm going to select something that I call the conference weather. So that's a class that basically contains all of these properties. Mm-hmm. So minimum value, maximum value, and as you can see here, the thing that we get back from here is the entry dot values 0, 1, 2. We're not getting minimum or maximum when we're getting that back.
So we want that.
Conference ID, name, start, stop, and all of that. Because I'm thinking that I don't know how we want to display this at this point. Maybe when I have just search for a conference and then just show, well, call for paper is open, it's these states, it's this country, or whatever. But this is just the start of it. This information, I need to have that in the index for it to be searchable. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have all of that goodness. And then when we set up everything in the program.cs, you see that we have that line that we're registering the time series. So we're registering to the document store the weather data class as a time series. That's how we will be able to get that back. And also we store and execute an index, which is the conference by weather. So I'm honestly not sure if this is the right way or not, but it's the working way.
It works, work. Yeah.
So if we just run the site here, and
we'll have to check with the RavenDB team later.
Yeah.
Did we do this right or not? It works, so that's always something.
So in Raven, this is the admin site. I'm going to pop back here. So what is happening in the background now is that we're spinning up the site. It should run the index, and that index should show up here. Look at that.
Look at that.
So conferences by weather is the index that we can query.
So Tyndall asks, how dare you start a stream without me knowing about it? How dare you not look at that on Twitter? I tweeted, Coding After Work tweeted.
And you were in the Discord
where
I
you knew that. You're not offended, you're just joking. Hi!
So we have the...
Oh, thank you so much. We will definitely look into that. Thank you. Sorry, you may continue.
Thank you. So we have the index, conferences by weather. So if I query it, I will be able to... Now since I have the bumped up the font size, everything is like really cramped. So here I will be able to say where, and here I have access to the minimum, maximum, and all of that goodness, because now we're not talking to the time series anymore. We're talking to the index. And this is one of the things that I really love about Raven, because you can create these indexes in code, and you can kind of... I mean, I've been working with SQL Server for many, many years, and I don't really know how indexes work. I get the point. I know what I have to do, but I don't know the inner workings behind it. Right. Here, it kind of feels like, okay, I understand this. I understand that this code, I'm creating objects. These objects are stored somewhere, and I can search those objects.
So, you're probably a little tired from all that coding right now, right?
Sure.
So you want a pun. Mm-hmm. See, I knew that. So when I go to cinemas, I of course turn off the mobile phone, but while watching Top Gun, I put it in flight mode. Because whenever he sees you, it's a cry for help. We know. And also, thank you. We're glad to be back.
So here, I'm able to search the index, conferences by weather, where the average temperature is above 25. Boom. Here are all the conferences coming up with temperature more than 25 degrees.
Oh, I didn't realize we could actually query that as well. That's cool.
And as you can see here, we got...
Because all the conferences we go to, there's only rain and cold. And, well, we were in Virginia Beach and Ohio was nice. But it's been years. Orlando was nice.
Orlando, that's what the one I was
Yeah,
looking
but
for.
that's 2019. Oh my gosh, look at that. We talked about Sviatug.
Oh, awesome.
You just bought tickets today. Awesome. They are running out.
Looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yes. And not just sending pictures of us being in your vicinity charging our car.
So as you can see here, we got a couple of duplicates.
Yeah.
But that's simply because it's different days.
Oh, right. And you said that if it's a multi-day conference, we need to have the weather for all those days.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to.
No, but I mean, technically, you could do that you could have a conference for 5 weeks and then you need to, Hey, look at that. Welcome, friends. Hey, we're friends of Jeff. Welcome. Yeah, look at that. We're a nice bunch here, I think. At least in the chat room. I think we're doing okay. And we are doing fun stuff today.
Yeah.
We're doing a page where we can query a lot of cool stuff. Conferences.
So I can show.
Yeah, you do that.
Site. So this might not be the best looking site.
It is definitely not. I can confirm.
The UX person in you says confirm.
It's not designed. There's no styling. It's just functionality for now.
So basically what we're building is a site that will list conferences.
Yes.
And it will list conferences from the perspective of a speaker, which means call for paper, call for speaker, call for
Content?
presenter, whatever content. There's a lot of those.
Yeah, I know. CFP it's usually called, so there we go.
CFC, CFS.
Yeah, I don't know. Call for something.
Someone is calling someone
Speaking
something.
opportunities. There we go.
So if we just pop in here, you can see that it looks horrible.
Yes.
And I'm going to switch over to the...
Call for pain? Yes, exactly. Exactly. It is not styled. Oh, how much energy is there in 2 angstroms? It depends. It depends on how much caffeine we've had.
All right. So this is a list for speakers.
Yes.
So basically, it's sorted by time left for the call for content.
Yes, because apparently, if you're a speaker in at least in the developer world, we tend to submit the last day or try the day after.
I have never heard of this.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Lies, I say. So basically, we have all the conferences call for paper here. Maybe
Ain't
not
no minute like the last minute. Exactly that.
True.
Exactly that.
We have a site for organizers,
Yes.
or a page for organizers, which is white. We haven't gotten to that
No,
just yet.
and also the organizers, that's because we have found when you set up a conference sometimes, or just an event, it's good to know if there's any clashing events that are in the same area or the same content, or you can find someone you can work with together and maybe share the fee for all the speakers or stuff like that. We are from Sweden, but we're not named Inga. But close enough, close enough.
Ingstrom, I don't know. And we got one for attendees as well.
Yes.
I don't remember if we actually had... Yeah, we got,
Look at that.
a little bit.
And
So,
this is more for just finding conferences to go, of course.
and that now we have them sorted after when does the event start. So
Yes.
that's what we're... that's more important in that case.
Greetings from the Netherlands. Welcome. My best friend lives there. Where's Svetug? Svetug doesn't have an open call for papers, but for an attendee, it should be down in the Septembers.
So
the late Septembers.
We don't have a search feature yet.
No, we're working on
And
that.
this is one of the bad things with using the virtualized component, because we will not be able to search the page because that part isn't loaded yet. So I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see here.
Greetings from Disneyland? For real? I'm so jealous. Even if it's just virtual, I would be.
When was it? Was 19, right?
19, I think,
There
yes.
somewhere.
Further
19,
down, further down.
19. There it is.
There you go.
And look at that.
Oh, the average temperature on that date is usually 11.5 degrees Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
That's, So what are you using to get that? You're doing stuff in our RavenDB, right?
You mean the temperatures?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm using Timeseries, where I've stored the different...
What is the American degrees? We're coming to that, but interestingly enough, the Azure weather thingy, what's it called?
Azure, I think it's called Azure Maps.
Azure Maps, yeah. They have a weather component thingy. You can get the weather data from that. That's actually default in Celsius.
Yeah. You can get it in Fahrenheit as well.
Yeah, but the default
is Celsius, and the date format for sending it into the service is also
non-US. Oddly specific.
Oh, you're going that route. Okay, got it.
So let's see.
So if we take a look here, we're going to
It
conferences
would be
here.
50 to 53 degrees.
If we just pick a conference here, you see that we have a time series and with
Right.
weather data, And if you pop into that one, we have minimum, maximum, and an average temperature.
Yes.
So what we're doing is we're getting the information from Sessionize, from joined in, and conf tech. They have open APIs, so we're pulling those in, kind of figuring out if we have any duplicates. We probably do have a little bit more work there. We're using the Azure Map APIs to figure out some of these APIs has a location, so a longitude and latitude. Most of them do not.
No.
So we're getting the venue, figuring out the longitude and latitude, and also figuring out the weather based on that information. So what we can do now is that let's pop back to Visual Studio. And so this is kind of an episode where this is something I did earlier. Because, for those of you who just joined, we are talking at a conference in Pennsylvania.
In November.
Tech Bash in
Yes.
November. So the normal thing would be just figuring out, going to the weather site, just typing in Pennsylvania and figuring out what kind of temperature we're talking about in Pennsylvania for November.
We are coming to Tech Bash.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's around your areas, right? Oh, did I just dox you? No, I did not. It's just huge. Yeah. You'll be in Seattle?
Oh.
Come on! What are the odds? Yeah, but we needed to figure out what to pack because we have back-to-back conferences because of poor planning.
That's basically what's going on.
Yeah.
Here. So we wanted to check what's the weather like in Pennsylvania. Now I could have just sent Jeff a message and asked him, but or just find a site to figuring it out. But let's just hook up an API.
Yes.
Build
Why
it in.
not? Why
Get
not?
the data into Raven Timeseries.
Crunch some numbers.
Crunch some numbers.
Make it complicated.
So basically,
but also code.
Code, definitely code. And I really wanted to do. I wanted to play around with that. So that's why we already kind of done some of the things. So if we take a look here, just quickly, I have a update location, which is basically getting all the conferences going, sending in to the Azure Maps API, figuring out the longitude and latitude if I don't have that, and setting the country, the city, as well as if we have a longitude and latitude, we're getting the temperatures. Which is kind of cool, if you ask me.
It is kind of cool.
I also added an API, let's see here, that gets conferences by weather. So here we are, we have the double average temp.
Yep.
Now, one could think that what we really want to do is we want to check the, so if you're using the site, you're probably going to say, I want all the conferences that has a temperature lower than 30 degrees because you are...
Because it's getting warm, and 30 degrees Celsius is in the low. Well, it's 86 Fahrenheit, so anything above 90 Fahrenheit or 30-ish Celsius is Jimmy's perfect zone, and it's my melting zone. Well, actually, my melting zone comes a few degrees before that.
So basically, what we only have at this point a function to search for above average temp.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can develop.
We can develop on this,
course.
make it as complicated as we want.
Absolutely. So basically, what we're doing, we're getting a session. We're querying the conference weather, which is the index, or actually we're getting the conference weather back and we're searching the index over there. So let's see how we implement that. I actually do have a page here that average temp above and a number binding to the value of average temp here, and a button find a conference.
Okay.
And we're using the Blossom grid because why not? Binding it to conferences.
I know the person who develops that.
You do?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm married to him.
Huh.
Yeah.
So we're showing the grid column with a timestamp, with the name of the conference, and simply have a template where we're showing the. So we're going to get a link to the conference as well, and we're showing the average temperature. So we have an empty list here. We're having the default value of 25 because lower than that, I'm not going.
We're starting to get to my my top, my melting point. And again, for the Americans, that's 77, or at least for Jeff. Some Americans actually know both, but Jeff asked for it before, so there you go.
So we're getting conferences by weather and sending in the average temp. So let's take a look here. So I believe I'm actually going to do it like this because I don't remember what by weather. That's a good name. I like it.
Of course you do. You made it.
So here we go. So 25 degrees, find a conference. Boom. So
it's interesting how you put the only functionality you have here is above, not below, because I wonder how that happened. I want to search for below.
Yeah, and you can when you implement that.
Okay, thank you. Well, I can copy paste.
That's true.
Or so I hope. Can I do it in Visual Studio Code?
You can.
Yeah, there we go. Then I'm all set.
So here we have the all of the conferences that has more than 25 degrees, or what did you say, 77 degrees
77.
Fahrenheit.
PowerShell on the river. Hey, that's something for Simon.
Not going to that one. I get so seasick.
Oh, you do. You do. That's true.
Let's pop back here. Let's pick this one. So this one has actually this one. This is better. So the AppSec Village conference.
Warm.
So if we click this one, we'll figure out that it's in Vegas.
That explains the 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
And we also have all the different dates here with the average temperature of those dates.
I do want to go back to Vegas, though. Seashells, PowerShell by the seashore. Nice. Sorry, I made you stumble. We have fun in the chat,
yeah,
okay?
That's fine. So the next thing that I have done...
Oh, look at that. I see numbers.
You see it?
Yeah. Again, I'm sorry about the lack of styling. There is none.
So now when we have a huge chat room here, so we've been talking about at, let's see, NDC London, I saw a couple of sessions about Tailwind. And we talked about, you know what, let's implement Tailwind in this site and see if we can do that, if that's a good thing.
Yeah, because we've tried other things, and last page we did pure CSS, basically. Yeah. We've tried Bootstrap, not a fan.
Yeah.
But that's a me problem.
And as so many other things, I have a thing against Tailwind.
Yeah. You have a thing against everything.
Not everything.
Is the designer on vacation? Well, one would think we really don't have any designer on our team. We have a UXer that at least can decrap things. But someone is hogging the streams right now, so that's fine.
So basically, Tailwind, the problem with Tailwind is that it requires something outside of Visual Studio. It needs NPM or it needs Tailwind CLI.
Well, Tailwind is the final CSS thing.
The final one.
Yes.
The last
Learn
one.
that and it will last your entire career. No, it's not. This time it's true.
And that's a really good point. Because if that were the case, I would be all over Tailwind.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you're learning a specific syntax for Tailwind.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for Bootstrap, of course, with the specific Bootstrap classes and all of that. But I've been thinking about this for a long time, back and forward, and I'm not sure that we're going to go the Tailwind route.
Oh, really?
I've changed my mind again.
But no. If I'm willing to try GitHub from Azure DevOps, when GitHub and I don't have a really good relationship.
Okay, chat room. Do you want us to, we're not going to do it today, but do you want us to figure out Tailwind and use Tailwind for the site? Yes or
Just
no?
a thing against CSS. I prefer pure CSS, and I was blown away when I started to look into CSS again, and it's been like 15 years because you can do so much cool stuff. Maybe we should just collaborate with someone who knows Tailwind and knows CSS and knows all that stuff. Use Tailwind for source control. Oh my gosh. If you don't already have a reason to pick Tailwind, you will soon. Yeah, that's how Jimmy feels, I would say. It's fun to learn new things. Yes, make it fun. We could make this into a drinking game.
The Tailwind series, the rant series.
Yeah, well, that's what. I'd say use Azure DevOps for styling. Lay off the Billy's pizza because it's getting to your head.
So one of the other things that I've done.
Yeah, open source, use GitHub. That we do, but we use their what do you call it? The planning thingy.
Yeah, but
DevOps thingy of it. When using Blazor component library, does it matter then?
When using Blazor component, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking
The
about
styling, if you're CSS versus Tailwind.
Well, the creator of Tailwind, they have a component library Tailwind that you can buy, which is crazy expensive, and they have it for React, Vue, and pure HTML, I believe. Mm-hmm. I think that's the three choices, yeah. And which is kind of cool. And the creator of Tailwind the idea is that it should be really componentized. Is that a word? Could it be?
We can make it up.
So you should use components, and if you do, which you should do when using Blazor, it doesn't matter as much when it comes to the. Let's back up. I have two things against Tailwind. Number one, I need to use something else outside of Visual Studio. Now, there are ways around that, but it requires me to install NPM.
And you have a thing against NPM, so no surprise to that.
I do. But that's kind of one of the things that I really love about Blazor, that I don't need to have NPM. I don't need to package JavaScripts and all of that stuff. That complexity I can I don't need in my life, basically. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Tailwind kinda uses the class attribute to just ram in style attributes in there. So it basically, every component has their own style. So you don't have that in a centralized place and all of that. And I get that. It makes sense if you're using components and you have a style that you're only going to use in one place, you're never going to use it anywhere else. But that also means that, let's say that you want to style a button. That means that you need to create a button component.
Right.
So now you're doing a lot of components to solve that problem. Or Tailwind has support to do the normal, if you will, classes as well, and you can use those. But that is not what the creator intended, as far as I understand from the two sessions I've been to. So don't take my word for it.
So two things against Tailwind. My wife likes it and my wife likes it. Actually, she's not a fan. I just wanted him to suffer a bit on stream because I'm going outside of the box, my little box. So that's, I actually prefer plain and simple things, which in this case would be CSS. You are not alone with not disliking, with disliking that. So yeah, and that's what you get. But yeah, maybe we should get someone to actually talk about Tailwind instead, so we can maybe Ed, doesn't he do Tailwind?
Oh, he has the same point of view as I have.
Oh yes, he does. Yeah. Okay, we should get someone who's pro Tailwind, because sometimes, I mean, a lot of at least my dislike of things or not liking things is usually because I don't know it. That's why I prefer Visual Studio Code over Visual Studio, because it's too scary for me, which means I don't like it as much as anything else. So that's basically it. So we should.
But the two sessions I watched was Chris Sainty's session. We talked about having him on the show for quite a while now. And Sean Wildemuth also had a session about that.
Yeah.
And he is kind of, Sean was, he kind of talked about Tailwind with the same, he wasn't as much as a fan. He was kind of like, yeah, and you can do the right way with classes and all of that. But the creator says that it's not supposed to work that way.
A little bit more neutral, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes, with Ed, we meant Charbonneau. That is correct. Awesome person. Yes, okay, so we're going CSI then? CSI. Yeah, we're seeing CSIing. Well, it looks like CSI. Remember CSI Cyber? Anyone in the chat room actually watched CSI Cyber? Amazing things happen on that show. Oh, gosh. And with amazing, I mean, how could you mess up that bad? We could not stop watch it. I think it was only out for 1 or 2 seasons or something.
1, I think.
Yeah. For a good reason. I remember they had a serial arsonist, I believe it was, that used HTML injection to get a printer chip to overheat to burn down the houses.
People, HTML injection is the thing.
Yeah, it's dangerous stuff. Step away from the HTML injection.
That's so bad.
Was that the one they used VB to build a GUI that could track the killer's IP now?
That was CSI, I believe.
The
Las
regular.
Vegas
Oh,
one.
and then we had the NCIS also have a great thing where you can actually share if you're getting hacked live and you're trying to get around that. You can share your keyboards. I take ASDF and you can take JKLM and whatever, and we can share it. Unix, yes, in Jurassic Park, I remember. I know this. This is Unix. And yes, she was what, 7?
Oh God, that was so painful.
It was. Well, I've seen worse, but it's yes. See, we all been there. It's so much fun. When the boss just pulled the power cord. Yes. Didn't say the magic word. Oh yeah.
Good times.
Good times. I love TV that makes sense. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, so back to what we were actually doing on stream
Back
then.
to so one of the things that I really enjoy is these kinds. So when we're going into a site and you see like it's counting up, and we could have open call for paper. Can count those up. We have the upcoming conferences, and if we check the page here, where did it go? Did I close it? I closed it. No. Start it up again.
While it's starting up, let's all remember Independence Day and them uploading a virus into the alien mainframe. Yes. That's how it works.
So
That's why we have problem explaining to our stakeholders that you can't just implement stuff you buy on the dark web or wherever you buy your components.
now imagine for a moment, just bear with me. Bear with me. So the alien spaceship in Independence Day, that was a specialized, they've been working for that since the 40s or whatever. It would make sense that it had a USB cable or whatever, because
Not if this started in the 40s, but sure.
But they've been working on it. They've been
Yeah.
working on it for quite some time. So it would make sense that it would have a humanity earthling interface, right? It would also kind of make sense that that chip would be able to communicate with the larger one, right? Let's imagine. Bear with me. Now, as many of you know, I've written a ZX Spectrum emulator, and I'm just now trying to port that one or add to that one a Game Boy emulator. So
Because it's basically the same chip, right?
It's basically the same CPU. It's not really, but it's close enough so that it's like 10 or 15 instructions that I need to change for the CPU to work. Now, having said that, I've been working with getting understanding the screen for the ZX Spectrum. It has like 256 times 192 pixels or something like that. It has attributes where it's like 8 by 8 pixels with different colors and all of that. The Game Boy has an insane amount of graphics stuff going on there. It's just amazing to read about because it's really advanced
out
for
there.
the time.
Yeah.
Now imagine that Jeff Goldblum would not only manage to figure out how to do that virus into the mainframe, he also took the time to figure out how the pixels worked on the main chip. Figuring out that it's a skull, I believe, if I don't remember correctly, and it goes ha ha ha. figuring out what the alien ship has for pixels, the processing, how it would show up on their screens, taking the time to actually make a model of that skull. It rant over.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Dark Web Components is going to be a rival faction in my next Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You're welcome. That's why we're here. That and Blazor and stuff. Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we want a counter.
Yeah, we want a counter. And if you see, if I reload the page here, you will see that it counts up. Look at that.
It does count up.
It does. I made this. So let's pop into our... actually, let's take a look at the first one here. So I've created a component that is called animated counter. And I have a start value, which is the number of open call for papers divided by 2, and upcoming upcoming conferences divided by 2. And I also can say the interval, so during what time it should count up to that number. Now, it was a while ago since I wrote this. Let's see.
To what number, though?
To the number of call for paper or open.
Right.
So here I have the component. It's super basic, really. It has the start value, the end value, the interval, and we are doing a JavaScript call on after render async, only on the first render, or if we are refreshing it, if we are setting a new value to the component. And we are calling a JavaScript file, animated counter, and simply running the animate value method.
We are going to restyle it later, right?
Absolutely not.
Ha! I'm going to figure out
Look
how
at this.
to take
I have
this
C.
down.
No, I didn't have.
You didn't even have CSS?
Didn't even have CSS. So this method, I stole this from the internet.
Oh, there you go. I don't think it's called stealing. I think it's called repurposing or open source, unless you reverse engineered something.
I did not.
There you go.
So I think I've done a little bit of changes in here. No, I probably didn't do that because I cannot read this. I've done a couple. I think I've done that one.
Okay.
This line.
But the math is not yours.
The math is not mine. So basically, what it's figuring out is the what kind of updates we're going to do on that component. And if we take a look at it again, I'm going to restart it, and it's going to count down. The top one is 5 seconds. The lower one is 1 second, I believe.
All right. So depend on how cool you want it to look or whatever.
Yeah.
I heard you wrote JavaScript. There you go. That's another thing he has against.
And also, I added the start value and
there you go.
The end value because I wanted to. I don't want to count 201 call for papers from 0 because So I wonder how much. Look at my arm. When is this happening? So I probably just want to have like the last 10 or 50 or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. Good question. Any special reason you're doing that in JavaScript instead of doing it in C# and compile to WASM?
Any special reason? Well, first of all, this is not WebAssembly. This is Blazor server.
Oh, right.
And having updates going from the server all the time, pushing that, it would not be a good experience. Now, you do have a point, though. I mean, doing it in for WebAssembly, that would make sense. But I try to make components that works for both.
Right.
Especially when it
But
comes
you
to...
could, though.
I definitely
Yes.
could, yes. But that's kind of the thing. I want to have those components that only would work in WebAssembly, that is super intense when it comes to updates and stuff like that. I want those to work with... it's okay to do those in WebAssembly, but the other ones I kind of want to have in both worlds, if it makes sense.
Okay.
If we pop into just showing the emulator again, because I'm honestly really proud about that. It's a lot of work.
I've seen how much that goes into it, and there's T-states, and there's it's so much assembly. Yeah, I know. I pick up a few things.
And
apparently the music is super difficult to get right.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this one, this is the ZX Spectrum emulator written in WebAssembly or Blazor WebAssembly. And it's running 50 frames per second. It has really, it's pushing the limits of WebAssembly, to be honest.
Not T-states. These T-states. Yes. Those were the days. I know, right? And now you can play online.
So if we pop in, let's start this one. And if I turn on the sound on my computer here, you'll be able to hear the sound as well.
I'm sorry. So Jimmy had one of these back in like the mid 80s. And he's also been commissioned to do a lot of these games for Windows 8 and Windows Phone and
Windows Phone 7.
Yeah, and the emulator and all that. He has yet to finish the first level of Manic Miner.
It's true.
Hey, look at that! A Tick Attack was fun.
It was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun because my favorite game of all time is Jetpack. My brother's favorite game was...
Sabertooth?
No,
or was
that's
that your sister?
Wolf.
Saber
Wolf. Was my sister. And my brother's favorite game was Attic Attack, I guess it should be
but in your home it's Attic Attack.
Yeah. And all of those games was from Ultimate Play the Game. So all of both my sister, brother, and me had favorite games from Ultimate.
Yeah. So I can almost see Tiny Jimmy in front of me, sitting way too close to the TV, being told he gets squared eyes. I can promise you that happened. So I do have a couple of questions. Is there any way to pre-compile JavaScript into WASM 2?
Pre-compiled JavaScript to WASM? I don't think so. I don't wanna say no. But actually, I'm assuming that you would be able. There's some kind of compiler that would be able to take JavaScript to WebAssembly, but not inside of Blazor, as far as I know.
So is the ZX emulation sensitive, precise clock emulation?
It's
complicated. That's what it is.
Yeah, but every instruction in the every assembly instruction has different amount of T-states, or takes different amount of T-states. And the book that I was using was this book, Programming the Z80. And it actually has the amount of T-states it takes inside of the book. Let's see here.
You're doing that just to look smart, right?
I do. Does it work?
No.
So this particular instruction takes 5 million cycles, or 20 T-states running at 2 megahertz, I believe. And the thing is the amount of T states is based on the speed of the processor. So that's one of the things that will be kind of difficult for me to implement the Game Boy, because that is running way faster than the ZX Spectrum. So I need to figure that one out somehow. I don't know how.
Any day. JavaScript isn't being compiled into WASM, so it's not pre-compiled. That makes sense. Screaming 2 megahertz. Yeah. Yeah, but we do get a counter now.
We do get a counter. And I'm thinking like...
we should style it. That's what you're thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it's fine. It's fine.
Both the megahertz, right? I know. Both of them.
It's amazing because as I mentioned, every instruction takes different amounts of T states, but if you average it out, it handles about 10,000 assembly instructions per frame, and it's 50 frames per second, which is a crazy amount.
I don't know how they made games back then. I mean, I can't even... How did they fit all... No. Oh, look at that. My old TRS-80 Model 1 was a 1 megahertz Z8.
I'm actually a little bit curious to see if it would be possible to emulate the TRS-80 as well.
Yeah, that should be after the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the UX designer wants at least a label next to the numbers. I know, it's... that I want a little bit more than that, but sure, let's start with that. You have seen TRS-80 emulators written in Blazor? They do exist, though. Happy fun times until the crappy keyboard membrane wore out.
I got my first ZX Spectrum, I believe it was 1985, and I don't remember what year it was, but I remember I threw out the trash in the building that we lived in, and in the what is called trash room, trash compactor, I don't know.
The recycling area, maybe.
There was a box with a ZX Spectrum.
There was a box?
It was a box. ZX Spectrum, micro drive, which was the kind of a really loading games fast compared to the tape versions. I didn't have a micro drive. This was the first one.
What was in the box?
What was in the box? And I honestly, it totally blew my mind.
Yeah, how people could
they just
throw that out.
Let's throw this away.
Hello. Well, we had a friend of ours used to work at one of the sorting facilities where they strip old computers from copper and they do all the sorting. They get a lot of surplus and they get returned stuff from stores and stuff. And also just trash. Well, not food trash, but still crap. And she saved a near mint condition box with a whole paper thingy on top of it, a ZX Spectrum.
It was actually a C64.
Oh, C64. Yeah. All right. But we did get a ZX Spectrum as well that had all the 4 little feet left.
So for you, those of you who actually owned a ZX Spectrum, there's basically no ZX Spectrum in existence that has all the 4 plastic feet still intact.
No.
I have one.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were the days. I still haven't tried the Manic Miner for real, but now I really want to, just to beat you.
Just to beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your friend all of your friends have gotten to.
So I got a Teams call from my colleague, and he was like, oh, look at this. Now I'm clearing the first level.
There you go. Yeah, see, 4, mine only has 2. Exactly, that's
All
the
of them.
point. There is no way you still have 4 little rubber feet on it. It's like the ones they try to put on the laptops. Sometimes they put plastic thingies on. They last for an hour, then they're gone. At least one of them. Or they stick to the other side of the computer or something.
It's sticking to something that is not the
Yeah, when
computer.
you bring it up and down in from the bag and stuff, just get caught. Oh yes, we did not mean those ones, but yes, you do have all the 4s. Ah, yes, all the feet.
Okay, so we have a site.
We do have a site.
We are listing the call for
bare
paper.
backbone of a site.
We don't have anything for organizers at
Yes.
this point. So the thing with the organizer page, I'm thinking that we're going to have some kind of showing the date, showing the it's not as much showing when the conferences are. It's more about showing when the conference is not. So figuring out, so I'm an organizer, when would be a great date for me to have my conference?
But it's also, I would say, about when it is. Because if we have worked at Sveatug, we have worked with a couple of conferences. We've worked with NDC London. We have worked with JFocus to maybe we can share some speakers or save them from traveling back and forth. Also save on traveling costs for the conferences. And so we do want to know if there's anything near.
Absolutely, but I'm saying it's kind of the gaps that we're looking for together with whatever is around those gaps.
Oh, we should do that. We should have a view for like a calendar view. Ah, you need to do a component for that. Yes. Share speakers. Where do you store them when you're not using them? I usually at hotels.
That's true.
Yes, that's where we store them. Speaker closets. Oh, we don't have that. We don't use them. We do have speaker rooms. We could call that a closet. If it's small enough.
Yeah.
Could be.
Whiskey
bars. That is also somewhat true. Some speakers you can definitely store there, or any bar, honestly.
Foo bar.
That is one of them.
Progress bar. No? Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. Keep them coming.
I'll show myself out.
No, that's fine. Keep them coming. Apparently, at least one person in the chat room is here for the puns. So there's that.
True. But we're kind of getting there, I think.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like
functionality-wise.
Spacebar, nice one.
Ooh. Oh, so many crossovers. Okay, yeah, my mind is on Doctor Who theme and Star Wars and Star Trek and yeah. Site. I have planning to do now.
I have a feeling that Sveatug is going to have some space bars.
Well, last time we could do a conference, 2019, we had a foo bar, which was our, actually the one bar that got the most attention, and it had a mocktail station where we had a lot of puns for the mocktails and stuff like that. But spacebar is, I like it. You can send your creative invoice. Yes. Do you want to come to Sveatug? We can maybe work something out. Oh, there is a bar called Space in Stockholm. Look at that. I'm going to Space Bar. What? Why am I thinking this is so funny? I find this hilarious. Okay, that says more about me than anything, I think. But yes, we need to go to the space bar. Well, we did have a Star Trek wedding, so
True.
it's suitable. We should celebrate our anniversary there or something. No,
In the
that's too.
bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, do you have Coke Zero, please?
We're not huge drinkers. Let's put it like that. Sweden knows what's up. There you go. First and last on the bucket list, go to space bar. Yes.
Oh, go to. I like
yes,
it.
I like it. I did notice that.
There was a what did it was what I don't remember what the name was, but it was a kind of gamification for Visual Studio, where Visual Studio point I don't remember. So basically, you got points for doing some things in Visual Studio.
Oh yeah.
So running a project 500 times. You got,
Achievements?
yeah. And there was one for using GoTo. I have it. And I'm not happy about it. I think I ran some kind of Visual Basic source code that I've downloaded and just ran it, and it just popped up. Oh, you got the GoTo achievement. No!
Oh my god. Oh, look at this. What about backspace?
Ooh, nice.
That's kind of a thing in Sweden where it used to be. They had like a nice restaurant, and then they had the back pocket, they called it. So that could be a backspace. Nice. Oh, there you go. He corrected his code. You need those semicolons.
So some of you probably know that I'm writing a book, and
Again?
I've written a book, and I'm doing it again. And there is a struggle not ending every sentence with a semicolon.
Yeah.
It's kind of in so.
I do put smileys instead, but I type them out. So I do the colon.
Yeah. But for
parentheses.
me, I mean,
Yeah.
ending a row, that would be a semicolon. No, wait, it's dot.
Full stop.
Full stop. Yeah.
I don't drink very often either, so I usually order a Virgin Red Bull vodka. Oh, that's my go-to as well, says Simon. Sometimes I mix it up with a Virgin Cuba Libre. That's nice. You don't end sentences with semicolons? I know, it's hilarious. Why do they do that? Oh, gosh. Oh, that's nifty. I'm an F-sharp guy, so I do new line after each sentence. There you go. Yep. That's the thing.
All right.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
But we're having so much fun. But we need to plan for the space bar
Space bar.
or backspace. And all of them in space. Oh, look at that. I'm a bad speller, so I start all my documents with on error, go to next.
So my colleagues, I have two colleagues that. So one of them, both of them has problems with spelling.
Well, they don't have
everything that is
problem with
misspelled.
spelling.
No,
They
everything
have
that
a
is
nose
misspelled.
for finding it out.
But my colleague, I don't know how he does it, because when we're in a meeting with a vendor, for example, he's like, "You have a spelling mistake," and they switch the slides, and he was like, "You got a spelling mistake on line 22."
Yeah, how does he
not
even counting the lines?
I know. I mean, it's not like it's not the headline, it's not the first sentence. They switch it, and it's. I'm not talking about seconds here.
No,
I'm talking about milliseconds. It's like line 22, you got a spelling mistake. So whenever we are pair coding, I'm kind of like typing really, really bad putting spaces where it shouldn't be, doing comments where that is misspelled, and both of them directly. Oh, you misspelled. Oh, that spelling.
Is he a actually guy? He is not.
No,
he's definitely not, which sounds strange, but he definitely is not.
No.
It's a radar thing.
He means well.
It just
absolutely.
rubs him the wrong way, one could say.
He usually says it's like sticking a knife in his eyes. That's like what's happening.
Yeah, that's what's this? I work with a Swedish guy who's a PM at a company where English is the official language and it's full of English people, and he can't speak English like at all. How? Oh, yeah, Swinglish. Nobody understands that. Not even Swedes understands the bad English we sometimes put out in the world. It can be bad. Oh, but he wasn't 75 plus. He was 40 or so. Yeah. That's how can you be 40 in Sweden and not speak English? Because Sweden, even if you don't continue your studies after the mandatory 9 years, you still are equipped with great basic English, and then everything on TV is in English. In Swinglish, that's amazing. Yes, no, it's not. It's definitely not amazing. Yeah, exactly. It's no excuse. I have some colleagues that are near 75 or above, and their English is good. Yeah. Yeah. How can you not speak English and be a boss at a company where everyone needs to talk English? I think I know why. It's the same reason we get some stakeholders or what have you buying bad stuff like the component thingies and trying to just make it work. Like, well, it's not even compatible. Or same reason that they are not looking into improving their internal systems that the UX is really sucky at. They don't do their research.
Bye, Richard.
Bye. Thanks for showing. Thanks for coming. I
Now you're kind of doing the Swinglish thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They know Excel. It could be. I like Excel. That is one thing I do like.
All right.
Yes.
Let's pack things up. Let's eat. Yeah, let's have dinner.
Because apparently my vocabulary is it's depleting. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
And next time, let's continue.
Until the next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.